Hello guys, today we'll be talking about what the exact election results at the 2019 South African election was and what each of these results mean. So quickly, let's go through the results. In the first place, of course, we have the ANC with 57.51% of the votes. Second, we have the DA with 20.76% of the vote. In the third place, the Economic Freedom Fighters of Julius Malema with 10.79% of the vote. In the fourth place, we have the Inkatha Freedom Party with 3.38% of the vote. And in the fifth place, we have the Freedom Front Plus with 2.38% of the vote. Below them, we have the African Christian Democratic Party with 0.84% of the vote. I won't be talking about the smaller parties than them because their representation in Parliament is minute. This translates to each party the following seats: 230 seats for the ANC, 84 seats for the DA, the EFF has 44 seats, the IFP has 14 seats, the Freedom Front Plus has 10 seats, and the ACDP has 4 seats. Now let's get into the analysis of what each of these means. But first, if you're new to this channel, on this channel we analyze events in South Africa. So if you're interested in that, give us a subscribe. Also, if you want to receive regular updates from this channel, please send your name and preferred language on WhatsApp to +27 71 567 7162. Now let's jump into the results. Firstly, we have the ANC with 57.51% of the vote and 10,026,047 votes in total. That is down from 62%, more than 1 million votes down in actual votes from their last election, which was 2014. Now, a lot of people may notice that the ANC's votes have dropped kind of significantly, but not as significantly as many people have hoped or thought, because the ANC has done a terrible job of governing this country for the last 25 years. All the state-owned enterprises from Eskom, the electricity provider, to SAA, the airlines have fallen into nothing. We can't even keep our power on, sewage is running down the streets, and South Africa is in a very bad state. To top that all off, massive cases of corruption has been exposed within the ANC in the last 2 or 3 years. To sum it up, what we have seen here in South Africa with the ANC is that it is an incompetent party with very high levels of corruption. Yet, most people still vote for them. The reasons for this can be loyalty to the party for the last 25 years because they are seen as the heroes of the struggle, or it can be superstition because we know presidents of the past have capitalized on the superstition of the people in order to get them to vote ANC, like Jacob Zuma, the previous president, who said that people who don't vote ANC will be tormented by the ancestors. Next, we have the Democratic Alliance, or the DA. Now, the DA has dropped their vote from 22.23% to 20.76%, which is a drop of almost 500,000 voters for the DA. Now, there's a lot of speculation going on around this party. Firstly, many people thought they would have lost a lot more votes because they have driven so far to the left that they are actually now called the ANC Light. This is because they have copied the exact same policies as the ANC, the exact same socialist policies. They have left capitalism behind fully and they have embraced democratic socialism. Basically what they have done is they have presented themselves as the ANC but without all of the corruption. But what they didn't realize is that most people who didn't vote ANC anymore didn't want more ANC policies without the corruption. They wanted new policies that wouldn't dismally fail this country. The DA has overperformed what I and many other people thought they would perform, because there's a very large portion of the minorities who believe in capitalism who still voted for the DA because they believe in this idea that we need to strengthen the opposition. But in this election, this lie has started to fall, and the people have started to wake up to this lie. And many of the smaller parties have taken a lot of votes from the DA, and a lot of previous DA voters have just stayed at home. This accounts for 500,000 people who didn't vote for the DA this time. I predict the DA will do even worse in the next election if they go on this path. Then, of course, we have the EFF. numerically the party that grew the most, from 1.16 million votes to 1.88 million votes, or from 6.35% to 10.79%. I myself predicted that the EFF would have done a lot better because the EFF is the charismatic, radical ANC. They have the exact same policies of the ANC, but they are much more radical and much more hateful in the way they present them. Also, the EFF has filled up stadiums much better than the ANC even did, and they have pulled crowds at rallies that the ANC and the DA can only dream of. Now, why did the EFF underperform what many people thought they would? On social media, they are the kings and have the most support of any party. In the streets, they are kings and have the most support of any party. But for some reason, they only got 11% of the vote. Now, this can be one of two reasons. Either the EFF supporters that support them so vocally in the streets and on social media just went on and voted ANC in any case. This can be because of what I said before, loyalty or superstition. Or the people who support the EFF so vocally all over South Africa just didn't bother to pitch up to vote. This might be because they are too lazy and they saw it as a given, or because it's mostly the youth that support the EFF and they don't really vote as much as the older people do. Or it might be that many of the supporters of the EFF are illegals in South Africa. Now, the IFP, the fourth largest party in South Africa, have seen a massive increase in support, almost doubling their votes. This I can give only one reason for, and that is Zulu nationalism. The IFP is the Zulu nationalist party who in some areas wish to secede from South Africa and in other areas just wish to promote Zulu interests and to keep the very, very large reserves or trusts that are in the hands of the Zulu king in South Africa. With expropriation or without compensation that is on the books in South Africa, the Zulu king also risks to lose all of his land. That is not what the Zulus want, so they came out in their numbers and they voted IFP, and I predict the IFP will rise and rise more in the coming elections. In the fifth place, we have the Freedom Front Plus, which is the only real capitalist party on this list. They are the only ones that stand for gun rights, for capitalism, for fiscal conservatism, for economic liberalism. The only ones who actually are still capitalist. The DA was capitalist, but the DA gave that up a long time ago. Now, a lot of people predicted that the DA was going to lose a lot of votes because of the fact that they left their liberalism behind and went to embrace socialism. That is the one reason why many people voted for the Freedom Front Plus. Now, I have to talk about another party here that came in just a few months before the election was, that sort of also looked for those disenfranchised DA votes. Now, of course, this party called the South African Capitalist Party didn't even get enough votes for a third of a seat in Parliament, so of course they don't have a seat in Parliament now. But their economic policy, which is the only policy they really stood for because they were neutral and everything else, were the exact same policy of the Freedom Front Plus. The Freedom Front Plus's policy in its manifesto were just objectively much better written than the ZACP's. Now, that is a bit of a sweeping statement for me to make, but I did actually analyze and read both parties' manifestos. I'm not going to talk about the exact reasons why the Freedom Front's manifesto was so much better than the ZACP's, because that would be a 2-hour podcast and many people will get bored with that. But I will say this. One of South Africa's most respected economists, Davie Rood, did an analysis on all the parties' manifestos, and he said that objectively the Freedom Front's economic policy will be the best for the economy out of all the parties that are standing for election. Now, why did I even bother talking about the ZACP? Well, that is because they were also, just like the EFF, massive on social media, and for a party their size that didn't even get enough votes to get one seat in Parliament, they received massive attention from the media, which is kind of unexplainable to me, but I'll leave that up for speculation. Now, they were going after those disenfranchised DA votes that the Freedom Front were also after, because they thought that the Freedom Front's Afrikaner nationalism would scare away many of the voters, which of course apparently it did not. But after they had such a massive loss in the election, some of them showed their true colors. Their second in command, Roman Cabernac, tweeted out this meme. When they didn't believe in you, tried to steal your tractor and made fun of your khakis, but you never gave up. And they put out a picture there of Pieter Groenewald, the leader of the Freedom Front Plus, and it says there, stares in fucking hond, which means stares in fucking dog, which he basically implies that Pieter Groenewald is a fucking dog. This is the first time in my entire life that I have seen this meme being posted by anyone that was not from the EFF. But this is where I lost all of my respect for the South African Capitalist Party, and it showed their true colors there. I actually didn't say anything negative about them before the election, but now they have disappointed me very much. But let's get back to the economic policy of the Freedom Front Plus. Now, there's a lot of things that they have said, but one of the most important things that I have seen is the fact that they want to cut the amount of ministers in the cabinet, or they want to cut the cabinet of South Africa, which I think is a brilliant plan, and I think it's also doable, because with the numbers that the Freedom Front Plus now has in Parliament, they might be able to successfully lobby the ANC government in order to make cuts to the cabinet. If this happens, and it's likely to happen, this will be a huge win for the Freedom Front Plus. But let's see what the future holds. The biggest problem that we face after this election is the fact that the EFF and the ANC, both parties who support expropriation of land without compensation, the exact same thing that happened in Zimbabwe, these parties together have a 2/3 majority in Parliament. So theoretically, yes, they are able to change the constitution of South Africa. But you shouldn't feel totally defeated because of this fact, because there are still a number of factors in play here. Firstly, a conservative party like the Freedom Front Plus, who is also economically liberal and capitalist, can go to foreign powers and lobby them to put pressure on the state of South Africa to not fully embrace communism, which would completely destroy South Africa. Because of the relatively big support that the Freedom Front Plus now have in South Africa, they will be much more successful in this lobbying than they would have been before they had even 1% of the votes in South Africa. We now have all of our hopes in their hands as the only significant capitalist party in South Africa in order to save the day. So let's see if they will be able to pull it off. Maybe some of the members of Parliament of the DA who are still a little bit capitalist in their hearts will also do the same. But as we know, the DA has moved so far to the left that they are now almost just the ANC with other colors. It's going to be an interesting time in South Africa for the next 5 years. So follow this channel and see what happens here. But let's see what's going to happen. Thanks for watching. That's about all. Goodbye and God bless you.